researchers in Italy wanted to look at male homosexuality and try to figure out how it is that men who are born with a gay gene are able to continue to exist because they don't procreate, right? Now, by the way, this whole thing about a gay gene, this is all based on a hypothesis, so I should note that. This is not a theory, okay? This is an ongoing study. Okay. However, what they found was that the mothers who give birth to gay men are more likely to have multiple children. And when they produce multiple children or have as many children as they do, those children are born with this gene on the X chromosome, right? Now, while they have female children, even if she's not a lesbian, she is likely to also produce later on in the future, and she might have gay sons because she has this gay gene. Okay?
That's really interesting. So far, two favorite parts of the story. One is when Anna did the X chromosome, okay? And then the other part is the implication of that, which is that if there's someone gay in your family, well, if that hypothesis is true, then there's a higher likelihood that someone else will be gay down the line.
Now, what they found, the researchers, is that mothers and maternal aunts of gay men tend to have significantly more offspring than the maternal relatives of straight men. Now, this is the part that I find really interesting, because why is that? Initially, they thought that these women are more promiscuous, but then they did more research and they found out that's actually not necessarily the case. It's because men find them more attractive. They're high...
Really?
Yes.
Wow, what a strange thing. I wouldn't have thought, like, wow, she's really hot. She might have gay sons.
No, but this is the interesting thing. So if they have that gene in the X chromosome, right, they're more likely to have something known as high fecundity, which means reproductive success.
Of course.
High fecundity means that having more babies is not about pleasure in sex, nor is it about promiscuity. The androphilic pattern that we found is about females who increase their reproductive value to attract the best males. They're more likely to be fertile, attractive, funny, and, you know, aesthetically pleasing to men.
So I get why that would be more attractive, but what I'm missing is why that leads to gay and lesbian children. That's the part I'm missing.
This is why it's still a hypothesis, because they can't prove this yet, right? But they believe that on the X chromosome there is a gay gene, and when a woman that has that gene gives birth, her offspring will also have that gene, right? So while they might give birth to a daughter, and that daughter might not happen to be lesbian, she's likely to have high fecundity, and she's likely to have more children, and when she gives birth to more children, she's likely to have males who are gay.
But why is the fecundity connected to the gayness? Idarola, help me out here.
They're a little bit vague in the article on the specifics of it, but in a general sense, a gene can express itself differently in a male than in a female. And it can also be associated not with one specific thing. People like to imagine that you have a gene and it causes X change. Like you change this, you have brown hair instead of black hair.
Right.
But genes can actually be connected to a ton of different physical, emotional, psychological characteristics. So perhaps in women it has some effect on reproductive health, on their personality, makes them more outgoing and things like that. Perhaps in men it's expressed differently. It makes them more open to sexual experimentation or something along those lines. So they're not explaining why this gene makes you gay. They haven't even identified the particular gene. But they're seeking to explain why gayness genetically would continue to propagate when it seems like it would breed itself out of existence in a few generations.
All right, so two things out of that. One, what I'm getting from that is that you're largely telling me that it's a coincidence that the fecundity gene also happens to be the gay gene, if this hypothesis is true. Okay. So that makes more sense. It's a coincidence. They're not connected logically. Number two, of course, the other hypothesis that I have is people are bisexual, which is almost certainly true. They're on a spectrum somewhere, the famous Kinsey-Uygur spectrum. And so, yeah, some guys who are a little gay wind up having kids. Get women who are lesbian, maybe they're 80% lesbian, maybe they're 20% lesbian. They have kids. And on we go. Isn't that like the more logical theory? Well, I nailed it.